It pays to know your doctor, it pays to know your lawyer, and more than ever, to know your local real estate professional. Hi, I'm Glenn Drake with Drake Realty with 7 offices in Metro Atlanta, including 2 right here in Cobb County. I'm the proud leader of over 700 agents here in Georgia. Drake Realty makes the home buying process seamless from contract to close. Our agents are a little different. They're not pushing for the quick sale and close. They're pushing for the best price and terms for their clients. In other words, Drake Realty fights for you. And right now, with the lowest interest rates that we've seen in 30 years, now's the time to buy that dream home, vacation home, upgrade, downsize, or new home your family deserves. A lot of real estate agents talk big. Let my team at Drake Realty prove they will fight for you. I'm Glenn Drake, and I'd be honored to have my team serve you. Visit us online at drakerealty.com. And remember, it's not how quick you sell or buy, it's how the deal sets up your future.
It's Friday, and what does that mean on the MDJ Podcast? It means Cobb Football Friday, and when we start the Cobb Football Friday, we start with the czar of Cobb football. He's the sports editor for the Marietta Daily Journal, John Bednarowski. John, how are you, my friend?
Well, we've reached the halfway point of a season that I didn't think was going to happen in the first place, so I'm feeling pretty good.
Is it already the halfway point?
We're sitting here at week 5 for a handful of teams. We will hit the halfway point after tonight's games.
Wow. And hey, by the way, October 14th, put that on your calendar. John and I will be broadcasting the podcast live. If you are recording it live, you can't say live. You can do a live podcast. That is available now, but we don't have that technology yet. Maybe we'll get that done next year. But you can come by the Nest in Kennesaw, and we'll be having a good time up there before long.
Yeah, we're going to get to interview a couple of coaches. Still waiting for the full roster to come in, but we're going to have some of our local high school coaches come up. And for those of you who know, or for those of you who don't know, I'll be signing copies of my book, I Write About Sports, while we're up there. So I'm hoping everybody will come in, say hi, and we can talk a little Cobb County football.
And we'll set up a fan mic, and you can ask questions, and the czar over there, John, will ask or answer, or I'll give you the fan's perspective and go from there. John, as a fan's perspective, before we go on your notes, I'm going to bring up 2 things this week on high school football.
Okay.
Number 1, as a resident of Cobb County and a resident of Smyrna, there is no reason in the world 3 schools on the south side of the county can score a combined 7 points and give up a combined 143 points. We got more talent in South Cobb County than what we showed last week between South Cobb, Osborne, and Campbell. What do you think?
Well, I think a little bit of that had to do with the quality of competition that they were facing.
Yeah.
Alatuna's defense may be the best in Class 6A, and South Cobb ran into that last week.
Yeah.
Campbell, that they had the big win against Berkmar, but then, went up to Woodstock, played a much different style offense, and Woodstock took care of them. And Osborne, playing Wheeler, not quite at that level yet, but, they're all getting better. It was just a bad week.
It was a bad week. Second game. Okay. I subscribed last week to the National High School TV network or whatever that is, where you can watch high schools all across the country and even in the state. I have to say, Cobb County high schools need to go back and watch the camera work and the filming of the Colquitt County Packers broadcast tape. I thought I was watching ESPN 8, okay? I mean, it is amazing. I watched them play Valdosta, and it was great football. And I guess that's what we're moving towards up here.
We're getting there slowly but surely, but when it comes to the broadcast quality, Colquitt County is in a league by its own, not only in that, but facilities. They've got that full 100-yard indoor practice facility down there.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous, the resources that they have. I think the only other school in the state, if I recall correctly, other than University of Georgia, to have one of those indoor practice facilities in high school is Cedartown.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, Carrollton. Carrollton,
the Trojans.
Yeah, and I don't foresee too many indoor practice facilities popping up in Cobb County.
Unless McEachern gets one.
Well, it's possible, but I would say highly unlikely at this point.
Yeah.
Because they're, at some point, even McEachern gets landlocked.
Yeah, that's true. But let me say this: the Colquitt-Valdosta game, incredibly fun to watch from a fan's perspective. I flipped back between that and the Hillgrove and McEachern game, another terrific game to watch. If you want to know about the Valdosta Colquitt game, I'll leave this with you, and then we'll move to Cobb County football. The commentators were not bipartisan. They were homers. Every time Valdosta made a stop, and it was a player for Valdosta that made a stop, the comment was made, there's 4 defensive players for the Wildcats, being Valdosta, that played for our Packers last year. So they were talking about Probst recruiting the kids over. Garcia didn't play, the quarterback that you see on ESPN. He didn't play for Valdosta, but a fun game nonetheless down there in South Georgia for a non-region matchup. But I will say this, folks. I've seen Grayson play, and I've seen Colquitt County play, and this is the last thing I'll do with the state thing. Grayson's still in the league on their own, just like you said at the beginning of the year. Hey, let's talk Cobb County football. Let's jump right at it. Hey, this week before we start, teams have all lost games because of COVID once again. Hillgrove, Harrison, Campbell all lose a game.
Yeah, it's becoming the norm.
Yeah.
We've had 1 week where we haven't lost any games. And this week, it's kind of a round-robin kind of a deal because Hillgrove lost their game against Morrow. Morrow going through COVID quarantine issues, so they canceled their game early in the week. Hillgrove went out and started hunting for a game to fill that gap. Then, unfortunately, a couple of days ago, Harrison, they had their own COVID issues, so they canceled their game against Westlake. Well, Hillgrove and Westlake managed to get something together. So Westlake's going to come up to Hillgrove and play on tonight, Friday night. And then Campbell, they lost a game not for this week, but for next week.
Wow.
Because Peachtree Ridge has issues, and they've been put into the, 15-day quarantine or whatever it is. So they canceled this week's game and next week's game. Unfortunately, that means Campbell loses one. I haven't heard of a new opponent coming up with that yet, but we'll be watching that. And then, last week, Whitfield Academy lost a game against St. Francis
right,
due to COVID. And Coach Coleman Joyner put out the word, said, hey, they were willing to play last Saturday. They were willing to play, today, tomorrow, whatever. They just wanted a game to fill in because they had a scheduled bye week this week. And they filled that slot. They're going to play Dodge County, going to come up from South Georgia, Class 2A team, and they're going to play them Saturday afternoons. So little high school football under the sun.
That'll be fun. Here's what I would like to see, just talking South Cobb County again.
Mm-hmm.
If Campbell has a COVID bye week and Whitfield has a COVID bye week, I'd love to see them two match up, even though they're in extremely different qualifications. I think it would be a pretty neat battle down there in Smyrna nonetheless. Hey, congratulations to all the teams last week that won and made a comeback or made a win. And the biggest one was your game of the week, John. Hillgrove and McEachern. Hillgrove, the Hawks, trailed at one time big, and they come back and beat the Indians. It was a good game for Hillgrove at the end.
Yeah, they got down 15-0 early.
Yeah.
And then a couple of things happened. Next thing you know, they're up 18-15, and that lead gradually grew in the second half, ended up beating McEachern 38-29. Theo Tatum has really started to settle in at quarterback for the Hawks. He went 20-27 for 241 yards and 2 touchdowns. Big storyline in that game. Byron Slack, real good friends with Franklin Stevens, the 2 head coaches. Byron Slack gets his first win as a head coach, first win at Hillgrove, and it comes against his great friend. And little nugget, they've now played 11 times, and Hillgrove took a 6-5 lead. So it's I did not expect Hillgrove to come out and drop 38 on McEachern, but you've got new schemes and things like that Byron Slack's trying to get put in. Obviously, the kids are picking up on it pretty quick, and they pretty much announced themselves as now at least a co-favorite in Region 3 7A.
10 years ago, if you had walked to any coach in Cobb County and you would have said by year 11, Hillgrove will have a 6-5 advantage over McEachern, would you have had a unanimous vote that you're crazy, John, from all the coaches, or was Hillgrove projected just because of talent and West Cobb to be that good, to be able to beat a perennial power, a perennial state power like McEachern, and on a 6-5 series lead 11 years in?
Well, the one big thing that Hillgrove had going for it was Coach Phil Ironside.
Yeah.
To get that program up and running. And Hillgrove's first, classes of players, they split from McEachern. Now, They pulled a couple, from the edges of Harrison and Kennesaw Mountain, a few like that. But, you knew they were going to be talented because they were coming up and they were taking kids that were initially in that McEachern youth program that's been so strong.
Right.
So I knew that they were going to be good. I didn't know that they would become a perennial playoff power the way they have over the last, 8-9 years. But, to have a 6-5 lead against McEachern, the school that birthed them, is pretty good feather in the cap.
Hey, talking about another school that birthed another school, birthed from another school, Pope, birthed from Lassiter, and a Walton breakoff beats Lassiter last week 27-6. And the folks up in Sandy Plains are scratching their heads.
Well, I'll tell you what, the big thing that I got out of this game after, listening to my writer and everything else, Joe Stelmach came back. Running back for Pope, had kind of gotten eased into action this year, hadn't gotten a lot of carries. He's committed to go to the Air Force Academy.
Yeah.
So he can play, and he got back into the swing of things. 10 carries, 178 yards. He had 2 touchdown runs, one of 55, and then really the one that put the icing on the cake, he broke free and went 94. So it was a big win for Pope. And, one of the biggest things is you didn't want to start 0-2 in region play. And Pope, leveled up. Lassiter's 1-1, Pope's 1-1. So it's I like the way that the Greyhounds are going, provided that Stelmach stays healthy, because he is their workhorse.
We talked about this team week 1 going into North Cobb getting scalded. Then they go to Wheeler and they win big. Last week, again, if they got it together and beat a Kennesaw Mountain team, and that's Sprayberry putting 51 points up on the board against Kennesaw Mountain, 51-20. Sprayberry pushing the envelope a little bit. Now we're going to see what they got coming up. I mean, they win last week. Good game.
Yeah, and it's really, last year it was Demarion Owens left, Demarion Owens right, Demarion Owens up the middle. He got dinged up a little bit to begin this season, and Isaiah Abbey had really stepped in and, took over the running back role for the first couple of games, and he really showed that he is very effective when he's running the ball. Now they've got this two-headed monster because you don't know who's coming at you. Demarion Owens back on track last week, 226 yards and 4 touchdowns. Isaiah Abbey right there, 124 yards, 2 touchdowns. Before the season started, a lot of the coaches in Region 6A said this is the team everybody's going to be watching because they've got the good offensive line, they've got the running backs. Kyle Brown is, working efficiently at quarterback. He had a nice game against Kennesaw Mountain. So it's going to be fun to see when they play Allatoona, when they play Kell, when they play Pope, some of these other teams. It's going to be, I think Sprayberry's going to be one of those 4 teams that comes out and makes playoffs.
One thing about being a state power is now you schedule non-region games against powerful teams in other parts of the county or other parts of the state.
Mm-hmm.
Marietta goes to Camden County, loses 24-21. They got a big game with Parkview this weekend. Are the faithful on you, John? I mean, you've predicted Marietta lost 2 weeks in a row here, and they went down to Camden County, which is a long ride, and the Blue Devils had chances, and they got offensive line issues, you see.
Yeah, I was watching the webcast from Camden County while that game was going on, and it just seems like right now Marietta's offensive line is a little bit shaky. Doesn't mean that they're not going to improve. It's just, they're young, and, they have 19 new starters this year. It takes a little time, and, Coach Richard Morgan, to his credit, he doesn't allow his team to just kind of slide or ease into a schedule. No, he's built the program. They want to have a national presence. That's why, initially they were supposed to play, I believe it was Armstead from Florida to begin the season, and they were also going to play Colquitt.
Yeah.
And those games got canceled, but, Parkview, they've got Parkview and Brookwood the next 2 weeks. They played Camden County. They played McEachern. They're not going to line up and play a couple of teams where they can get an easy win. That's just not the way they do it. They want to make sure that they're ready for the playoffs, and I think they're still going to be there once Region 3 7A play starts. They're not going anywhere. They're getting better. They're going to be right there in the mix.
They're not. Had we not had COVID, their non-region schedule could have been as tough as anybody in the country.
Oh, it may have been the most difficult in the country.
I mean, you think about it, Armstead, Colquitt County, McEachern, Parkview, Brookwood. I mean, that's a tough opening 5 games.
Well, it
could have been 0-5 pretty easy, and I don't mean that in a negative way, guys. It's just the quality of competition.
And that's what gets them ready for region play, and that's why I said they're going to be just fine. Tyler Hughes and Jalen Woods splitting reps at quarterback. Both of them have a lot of talent. They're going to get there. They're going to be fine.
All right. Got to ask you this question. Let's switch down to single A ball for just a second.
All right.
When is North Cobb Christian going to play a defense? 34-0 over Calvary Day in Savannah last week. They're averaging about 35, 40 points a game running the football. This is not June Jones running gun. This is not Mike Leach's air it out. This is handoff right, handoff left, handoff up the middle. And that single A offensive line, you've got to give those 6 guys, because they don't pass to the tight end. The tight end's nothing more than an extended left tackle. He likes to tell his friends, I don't know the kid. He likes to tell his friends he's a tight end because a tight end's a sexy position, but he's actually an extra left tackle, right tackle. But you got to give him and the other guys across the line credit. North Cobb Christian just keeps blowing them out on the front line.
They've played good defenses, I know for a fact, the last 2 weeks against both Whitfield and Calvary Day. And against Calvary Day, North Cobb Christian got off to a little bit of a slower start. But once they got going, they put up more than 300 rushing yards. Caleb Cannon went for $155 down there. Right now, he's leading the county in rushing. He's got 682 yards and 7 touchdowns. So it's fun to watch these guys run the ball. And this week may be their biggest challenge of the season. Well, it will be their biggest challenge of the season to date because they're going to play Fellowship Christian, and it's a rematch game, so they know a little bit about them. It's going to be this could be one of those games where don't blink because it's over, because Fellowship also runs the wing T. So it's going to be, if the ball is thrown more than 3 times by either team, I think that's an upset.
You're exactly right. Al Morrell, by the way, Fellowship Christian, was my freshman football head coach at Wills High School in 1984, John.
Be careful, you're dating yourself.
I know I'm dating myself. Hey, let's talk another private-public matchup before we go to this week's big games. Blessed Trinity, the monster on the north side, took it to Kell, and let's face it, Blessed Trinity, as you said last week, was Buford light. They may be Buford heavy after putting 54 against a Kell team that almost beat Walton, a perennial power in 7A. Blessed Trinity showed it doesn't matter what classification they could play. And maybe Blessed Trinity needs to match up with Grayson before it's over with.
Well, I'll tell you what, for Cal, it was just too much Justice Haynes, the big-time running back over there at Blessed Trinity. He went for more than 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. This was a really good game. Blessed Trinity got out to a fairly sizable lead, and Cal cut it to a 1-score game there in the third quarter. They just couldn't quite keep that momentum rolling. Davian Hampton started at quarterback. Their main starter, Corbin LaFrance, had gotten injured, and he did a nice job. He went 22 of 35 for, I think, 218 yards and 3 touchdowns. Am I saying that Corbin LaFrance would have made all the difference in this game? No, because 54 points, defense had a little bit to do with that. But look, Kell's going to be okay. Kell's going to be just fine. They're going to be challenging Allatoona for that region title along with Sprayberry once that really gets going. This was one of those games that Kell picked up. They had lost their game against Hillgrove earlier in the season. They had a bye week this week. They found an opponent to play. Blessed Trinity came over. And, Coach Sloan, Brett Sloan, said this was going to be a big measuring stick game. And, he knows exactly where he is on the ruler right now.
Let me just throw this in before we take a break and come back with the big games this week. I think this COVID season is something for the GHSA to look at when it comes to major, and I don't mean this in a negative way, major sports versus minor sports, football and basketball. Blessed Trinity jumps up a division or two and plays Kell. Great way. You see Whitfield going to Elbert County, public against private. Everything's split up. Everything's politically correct because everybody gets a trophy. Valdosta plays Colquitt, 2 division different leagues. I think we could condense it down from 7A down to about 4, if you want to know the truth about it, and have some great football. And maybe use, just throwing this out there, maybe using the European soccer model, where one year, hey, Blessed Trinity's this good. Move them up. Let them see what they can do. John, just a thought from a fan's perspective, because I know a lot of us would like to see a lot of these lower division teams play the upper division teams, and it would do Osborne a good job to play a single A team from time to time, not just so they'll get a win, but it helps the single A team as much as it helps Osborne's confidence.
Well, I can tell you one person that agrees with you, and that's the GHSA Executive Director, Robin Hines.
Yeah.
When he first took over the job, he was hoping that at least they would go back to 6 classifications instead of 7.
Yeah.
And he said the reason that I'm hoping that it would be 6 classifications is because I know they won't let us go back to 5.
Yeah.
He would prefer to condense things a little bit. And I think 7, in my personal opinion, I think 7 is too much. But I'll tell you what has happened because of these classifications, the toughest classification in Georgia high school football is Class 6A.
Yeah.
Because there you have the have and have-nots in 7A, and it's glaring who's at the top, who's at the bottom. 6A is dog eat dog. It is, if you're going to get through there, you're definitely going to earn it.
It is what it is all around the state. I mean, great teams in 6A. Hey, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back with the big games this week on Cobb Football Fridays, brought to you by our friends at Superior Plumbing, Otter's Fried Chicken, Pinnacle Orthopedics, and so many more that makes John Bednarowski's job so much easier. You're listening to Cobb Football Friday.
Engineered Solutions of Georgia.
Hey, Atlanta, this is
Jay and Lewis, owners of Engineered Solutions of Georgia. Lewis, what should a homeowner do if they have a crack in their block wall, corner of their door, window, or concrete foundation?
Well, Jay, if it's a diagonal crack, this lets us know that they should be concerned and there could be a serious problem. Then they should call our office at 678-ESOG now and set up an appointment to have one of our qualified professional technicians come out to their property to take a look at the problem.
I'm consumer investigator Dale Cardwell. I've done the research already, so you don't have to. You can trust Engineered Solutions of Georgia.
Give Engineered Solutions of Georgia a call at 678-ESOG now.
Engineered Solutions of Georgia. We guarantee a stable, dry foundation. Dial 678-ESOG now.
And welcome back to Cobb Football Friday. Darren Sutherland of the Marietta Daily Journal podcast, your daily podcast. Give us a listen. John, I got to brag a little bit. We started the Marietta Daily Journal podcast a little over 5 months ago. We've got 20,000 plus subscribers right now. And let's just face it, Cobb Football Friday's added about a couple, 2,000, 3,000 to that mix. So if you only listen to us on Friday, thank you. But check us out Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. We've got great hyper-local news and information about Cobb County, and you can hear John, and we'll probably hear John more and more on that MDJ podcast because why? The Smyrna Braves are doing such a good job in the playoffs. You know, we got them, even though it's Cobb Football Friday, we've got them, and we're recording this on Thursday morning, so we don't know what's going to happen Thursday afternoon. But the Braves win a 13-inning pitching duel. If you would have said a batting duel, we would have said, yeah, the Braves will win. But this was a pitching duel, John, 13-plus innings yesterday.
Well, they had the right guy on the hill. Max Fried, until he had his unfortunate injuries late in the season, was the favorite to win the Cy Young. It's fun to watch those kind of games. I know a lot of people are sitting there saying, "Oh, wow, that was boring." I watched all 13 innings. You know, we're recording this just before Game 2 gets started.
Yeah.
So in Game 2, I would prefer for the Braves to have a few more hits.
There you go. Yeah, me too. Let me ask you this: you're a sports reporter. You can go down there. Is it different being down there at the stadium covering a game without fans?
Oh, I went down there for the first game without the fans. And my thing is if you're going to watch baseball, watch it at home. Because on the telecasts, it's a little bit more like a normal atmosphere.
Yeah.
The crowd noise that you hear on the TV is there in the stadium. And it's like a dull buzz that really you just don't. And you got to be careful because sometimes with the piped-in crowd music or crowd noise, sometimes there's a cheer when the home team makes a mistake when it should be a boo, and so Major League Baseball made sure that was available to everybody, and I'll be glad when the fans are allowed to come back.
Braves go to the World Series. You're going to be sure to cover that game by game at the stadium?
Well, considering it'll be in Texas, no.
Really? It's going, okay, man. That is right. That's right. Hey, by the way, talking COVID-19, and the fans are coming out to high school football. Looks like they're filling up some stadiums, even at the lesser games. We're hitting that 30%. I will tell you this. We were not in Albany, Georgia last week on the game I was watching. Colquitt County versus Valdosta. There wasn't an empty seat in Colquitt County High School. I'm just throwing that out there. I've seen it on TV for myself. Guys, you can watch it. It is what it is, GHSA. I ain't telling on nobody. But when you got stands, it was full, John. It was full, giving an eyewitness account of what I saw on TV. But what's the sheriff of Colquitt County going to do? Go down there and kick everybody out of a football game? Not if he wants to win election in November. That's just the way life works in Colquitt County, Georgia, South Georgia. Big games this week, John. Let's talk about them. You mentioned this one a little already. Fellowship at North Cobb Christian. Big game. Almarell takes on that running game of North Cobb Christian, and maybe the quickest game in the history of high school football because neither team ever passes the ball.
That's true. Don't blink. This game's going to be over. It's a rematch of last year's second-round playoff game. Fellowship beat North Cobb Christian in that matchup 14-0. North Cobb Christian is trying to reach 5-0 for only the second time in program history. And if they can get the running game up and going, right now Fellowship comes in, I think they're averaging like 46 points a game.
Yeah.
And they're giving up 16. So something's going to have to give in that area. But, here's something interesting. North Cobb Christian, 4-0. North Cobb, 3-0. Allatoona, 3-0. Those schools within that about 6-mile area, all undefeated. Those are the last 3 undefeated teams in Cobb County. So there's something in the water up there by Lake Allatoona and up in the Kennesaw-Ackworth area that has them primed and ready.
Yeah, awesome. Marietta at Parkview. They go to Central Gwinnett County to play, if not the legacy team of Gwinnett County, one of the 2 legacy teams in Gwinnett County, and they'll face the other one next week in Parkview. What you got?
Marietta showed that they can play against top competition last week down at Colquitt County, even in a loss. This is a rematch of the state semifinals from last year. And, of course, Marietta went to Parkview, won that game, and then went on to win the state championship. Here is where Marietta's youth works against them because Parkview returns a lot of those players that were on that team last year. I'm sure they're going to be amped up, ready to try and get that revenge victory. It's going to be a tough one for Marietta to come out with a win, but if they shore up that offensive line, they're going to have a shot.
Let's talk about a couple of track meets instead of football games here next. Westlake at Hillgrove. Fastest game on turf. Westlake, typically great track and field superstars. Home of Cam Newton. I mean, you tell me.
Well, Hillgrove wins cross-country state championships. Yes. So it's the question, is it a marathon or is it a sprint? Hillgrove impressed the heck out of me with their win against McEachern. I think Westlake comes in as a top 5 team in the state right now. This was a big pickup for Hillgrove. We're going to find out exactly, if we didn't find out enough with last week's game against the Indians, we'll know exactly what kind of a team Hillgrove is this week after they play Westlake.
Second track meet, Pebblebrook wins last week at Lithia Springs. They're Cross Creek rivals, so to speak, down there in the South Cobb, Douglas County area. This week, Riverdale comes up to Pebblebrook. Pebblebrook's repping South Cobb extremely well. I mean, what do they got to do to keep this winning streak going?
Well, I'll tell you what, if they go out and they win this one, they would reach the halfway point 4-1.
And could be 5-0 had not been for a few tough things against Peachtree Ridge.
2 points away from being 5-0. The last time that Pebblebrook had as many as 4 wins at the halfway point of the season was the year 2000. And that year, Pebblebrook ran the table and was undefeated in the regular season. So this might be a little bit of a case of history repeating itself. Craig Adams Jr., I mean, he's got 10 touchdown passes already. He's 4th in the county in passing with just over 600 yards. He has really made the difference down there for the Falcons. And the nice thing about him is he's got 2 more years to do it before he heads off to college.
Wow. Probably the biggest thing going in Pebblebrook since Colin Sexton left a few years ago to go to the University of Alabama in basketball. Hey, let's go up to the north end of the county, and it's the Battle of Highway 92. I like to put these roads intersections in between the schools, but it's the Highway 92 battle. North Cobb takes on the Eagles of Etowah. These kids grew up playing Little League together, even though they're in separate counties. They live in the same neighborhoods. They shop and eat at the same restaurants. They ought to call this the Bass Pro Shop Bowl. What do you think? Etowah and North Cobb.
Unfortunately, Etowah in that rebuilding mode. New coach Matt Kemper, who was the head coach at Pope when they last won region titles, is up there. It's his first year. They're still getting things together. Right now, unfortunately, the offense is just not generating anything. I think they're coming into the game averaging maybe 6 or 7 points a game. North Cobb, of course, Malachi Singleton has been everything and more than everybody expected this year. The one thing that Etowah might catch a break on is maybe there's a little bit of rust having North Cobb come off of a bye week. But if North Cobb goes out and plays North Cobb football, then they should win.
Yeah, this is a team that beat Buford.
Yes.
Okay. This is a team that Shane Queen says he's got a player, a once-in-20-year player in Malachi Singleton. So, it is what it is, North Cobb. Hey, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back, close out the show, talk about what went on in college. We'll let John make his picks for the week, and we'll talk about our power rankings right here on the MDJ Podcast, Cobb Football Fridays.
You deserve better than your bank. Better service, better rates, better solutions. If you live or work in Cobb County, now is the perfect time to make the switch to the Credit Union of Georgia, the better way to bank. Since 1960, Credit Union of Georgia has been providing Northwest Georgia with financial solutions that make sense for your home, business, and family. As a homegrown, not-for-profit cooperative, our members are our mission. Not only will you get the best loan rates, you'll get personalized customer service from people who understand your needs. Plus, Credit Union of Georgia provides real convenience with a network of more than 30,000 accessible ATMs and branch locations across the country. Of course, there's also 5 locations right here in Cobb County. Ready to see how much better your banking can be with Credit Union of Georgia? Become a member today or apply for a loan online by visiting www.cuofga.org. Credit Union of Georgia, the better way to bank.
And welcome back to Cobb Football Fridays. Darren Sutherland and my co-host, or the host, the czar of Cobb County football, sports editor for the Marietta Daily Journal, John Bednarowski. Again, thank you for listening to Cobb Football Fridays. We have a good time with this. Coming up, October 14th, we want to remind you, we will be at the Nest in downtown Kennesaw recording a live show. There'll be some high school coaches stop by and talk to us that evening. We'll take some questions from the audience, and John will sign some of his books. And you can buy one there and all that kind of good stuff. And John, just tell the folks, the book's titled I Write About Sports. Mm-hmm. You're going to have some Cobb football stories in there, no doubt.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of Cobb high school football. There's a lot of college football content that involves Cobb County players.
Yeah.
And, it was almost like cheating putting this book together because, I had already written everything. But I got to go through our archives and I pulled out. At start, I think I had about 120, and then I started to narrow it down. I've got about 75 or 80 of my columns from over the last 14 years in the book. It was a lot of fun to put it together. I'm hoping everybody is enjoying it. I've had some initial success, and Christmas is coming. So these are going to make great stocking stuffers, hint, hint. So please come on out to the Nest. I'll be happy to sign one for you. We can talk about it, and looking forward to seeing everybody out there on October 14th.
I'm going to put you on the spot here.
All right.
I like putting you on the spot.
Yep.
If you were doing it, and folks, I'm asking him this totally off the cuff, okay? He's not prepared for this question. You've been covering high school football in Cobb for how many years?
14.
14. Been doing the Dynamite Dozen for how many years? 14 years?
Mm-hmm.
Who's one of your top players ever in that 14 years of Dynamite Dozen that you look back on that you've covered in high school football that's moved forward and you say, wow, he was great in high school, he did great in college, now he's doing pretty good in the pros?
Well, I can tell you what our biggest miss was.
Who's that?
We did not have Bradley Chubb as a member of the Dynamite Dozen.
Wow.
Now, he'll be the first one to tell you that he may not have been the best, football player on his defense when he was at Hillgrove.
Yeah.
He became the player that he is through just hard work. Ended up becoming the Bronco Nagurski trophy winner for the best defensive player in the country when he was over at NC State. So, that's probably our biggest miss. Kenyon Drake, can't argue with him.
Yeah.
Although he didn't have the college career that a lot of people thought he would, because he got stuck behind Derrick Henry and some of those other running backs that were.
But if
there.
he'd have went to any other school in the SEC,
he'd have blown up.
He would have. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've had an awful lot of good players, but I'll tell you what, the one that's going to be interesting to watch is a man that made his debut last week.
Yeah.
Eric Gilbert over at LSU. I think he's going to have an opportunity to do some great things.
Between Mr. Gilbert out of Marietta High School and the defensive tackle out of Hillgrove that's playing with Clemson now, 2020 may prove to be the best year for freshman football players graduating from Cobb County schools.
Oh, that's a distinct possibility because, the last two Dynamite Dozen classes.
Yeah.
Last year and 2018 by far. Well, and 2017. Let's do those three classes because 17 was Justin Fields and some of those guys. I mean, that is probably the peak. It's obviously the peak from the time that I've been here. Eric Zier predated me and some of those guys, but we're at the peak. We've got 192 players playing Division I college football right now. That doesn't have anything to do with Division II, Division III, NAIA. I mean, we probably got 400, maybe 500 college football players coming from the county right now. Yeah. It's a gold mine of talent.
And we got to throw a shout out to BG Ed Group's director, Jacob Sutherland, 2012 Dynamite Dozen dude. I mean, you know what? I mean, hey, we'll throw that out there and just give him a little shameless plug, and he'll be pissed that we said that. But, hey, he's a good guy here. He's a good guy. But Eric Gilbert, if you would have told him he was going to lose his first college football game that he ever played at LSU, he would have said you was crazy.
Yeah. And I was really surprised. And it didn't have anything to do with the offense.
No.
The defense, they allowed 600 yards passing. But,
what do you expect from Mike Leach? Come on, you knew what was going to happen.
Eric Gilbert, a freshman, true freshman, makes his first start over at LSU. And I wrote a column over the weekend. I said, give him a C. There's going to be a lot of A's down the road. But I watched that game, and I specifically watched him as much as I possibly could. And in the passing game, he was everything everybody wanted to have. I mean, he caught a touchdown pass, which was more like a jump ball, to start a basketball game. And he went up there and grabbed it at its highest point. And, his hands are so big and so strong. He took it away from a defensive back in the end zone. It was like, no, this is my ball. He finished with 4 catches, 37 yards in that touchdown. The one reason that I didn't, grade him higher mainly was pass protection.
Yeah.
And, not that he didn't pass protect at Marietta, but let's just say it wasn't quite as high up on the to-do list as it's going to be in the SEC. And there were times where it looked like he got caught off guard because of the speed of the defensive lineman. And, once the game slows down, there's not going to be anybody that can guard him. And once he gets the idea of getting that chip block, make sure that he doesn't get the quarterback decapitated, he's going to be, he'll be a number 1 draft pick provided he stays healthy.
Made me wonder, being a Bulldog fan that I am, why Kirby had to go all the way across the country and get the 5-star tight end out of Las Vegas, the 6'7" kid. And Eric was right here in Marietta, Georgia, with all these hometown fans, and why Eric's not a Bulldog. Who knows? Who knows? Congratulations, Mr. Gilbert, on a great opening weekend. Kills, Jaylen Brown commits to Robert Morris.
Yeah, that's big news. 6'1", 170-pound wide receiver. He's one of the two-headed receiving monsters over at Cal, teaming with Jamal Hill over there. And Jaylen this year, 15 catches, 216 yards, 2 touchdowns. Last year really started to make that impact, 45 catches, about 750 yards, 5 touchdowns. He chose Robert Morris over a number of other Division I FCS schools, including KSU. Mm-hmm. Also North Alabama, Eastern Kentucky, Bryant, number of other ones. But he's going to go to Robert Morris, which is will become part of the Big South in 2021. So they'll get to come home and play in front of the home crowd at Kennesaw State once or twice during their career. But he's going to go up there. Corbin LaFrance, his quarterback, had committed to Robert Morris earlier in the summer. So we got that quarterback-wide receiver tandem heading up to Pennsylvania, and hopefully they have great success teaming up, although, maybe not so much against KSU because we want the local team to win because it sells newspapers.
Hey, as we, you're exactly right. As we close out today's show, I thought about this, and I had this conversation with a friend yesterday. FCS and Division II and Division III have moved a lot of their whole agenda to the spring, mm-hmm. Okay? And we know they're going to be playing January through March and then the playoffs and blah, 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 blah. Do you think there's an outside chance if TV ratings are a success and interest level is a success, this may be college football's new USFL, and we could see this brand of football carrying on through the winter months and early spring to fit the American public's appetite for football? Because I could very well see a Kennesaw State, Jacksonville State game getting great TV ratings in a market like Atlanta, where when they're playing against an Auburn, Georgia matchup, they're not pulling those viewers away. And we all know it's about TV eyes, radio listens, newspaper attention. And for every kid that wants to grow up and play at the University of Georgia or Auburn, there's kids that get a great education at Jacksonville State or Kennesaw State. What's your thoughts on that, John?
Well, I'd never say never.
Yeah.
Here's a downfall of spring football, and I think the USFL and the XFL and a lot of these leagues have found this out, is one, and this is not to take anything away from KSU and Jacksonville State, North Dakota State. Obviously, they are excellent programs that play a really good brand of football.
Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
I mean, there's tons of players. Yeah.
It's not at the highest level.
Right.
Okay, so now you're going to put up against the NCAA tournament, assuming that it comes back. All the Georgia fans, the Georgia Tech fans, all that, they're going to be watching, college basketball.
Yeah.
You've got the Braves starting. You got the spring season in golf is huge. It's
Daytona 500.
Yeah. You've got so many other options.
WrestleMania.
Okay. But if you think about the fall.
Yeah.
Okay. We've got baseball playoffs, but traditionally.
Yeah.
It's football up until basketball starts in November, early December. I think that would be a tough sell. But again, never say never because, like you said, football is by far the number one spectator sport in the country. And, if it's good enough and, they can make some money on TV, there may be an appetite for it.
Yep. You never know what the appetite will be. John, thanks once again. It's Cobb Football Friday. It's been a pleasure. What is this, our third or fourth week? I can't remember.
I think this is week 5.
Week 5. Wow. We've done this 5 weeks?
Yeah, because we're closing in on that season midpoint.
Wow, nice. Well, once again, thanks a lot. Remember, you can check us out October 14th at the Nest, and we'll be downtown Kennesaw. Make sure you come out. Make sure you plan. Come shake our hands. Get one of John's books. Are we supposed to shake hands or we got a fist bump? I can't remember.
Lots of fist bumping.
Lots of fist bump. After November, we can shake hands.
Let's hope so.
That's it. You've been listening to Cobb Football Friday, brought to you by all our friends, folks like Superior Plumbing, folks like Otter's Fried Chicken, folks like Pinnacle Orthopedic, and so many others that make Cobb Football Friday possible. John, thanks once again.
We'll be seeing you at the games this week.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Marietta Daily Journal podcast, brought to you by Carmichael Funeral Homes and Cremation Services in Smyrna and Marietta, celebrating memories you'll always cherish.